The hidden secrets that led to a family's end. A disturbing end to the family. Imagine a tranquil, tightly knit community where neighbors greet each other by name and crime is as rare as a cloudy day in the desert. Sarah Starr, a beloved local teacher, devoted mother, and active church member, was the epitome of warmth and community spirit, always ready with a smile and a helping hand. Yet, on an otherwise ordinary morning, she disappeared without a trace. Hours later, the unthinkable happened. Sarah was found dead in her driveway, her life abruptly ended by 2 shotgun blasts. The primary suspect, her ex-husband Jason, known to have a contentious relationship with her. Despite eyewitness accounts of his previous threats, Jason maintained his innocence, backed by an unshakable alibi. The question then arises, if not Jason, who was responsible for this grim fate? What dark secrets lay buried in the undercurrents of this seemingly idyllic town? As the investigation unfolded over the years, it revealed a tapestry of hidden motives and repressed vendettas, painting a picture of a community where desperation and the thirst for revenge drove one to the brink. Are you prepared to delve into the complex layers of this case? The saga began on the sunny morning of November 27th, 2017, when Coffee County, Alabama's emergency services received a chilling call at precisely 9 a.m. The caller, a man composed yet clearly distressed, claimed that his friend Sarah Starr had likely ended her own life. Police arrived swiftly at her residence, a modest structure owned by the local church, which historically served as the pastor's home, but had been leased to church affiliates for several years. Here, Sarah had sought sanctuary amid a turbulent 2-year divorce, raising her 4 children alone. At 38, she was endeavoring to rebuild her life in the small town of Colby, Kansas, her birthplace, and the very place she'd first been celebrated as a nurturing and talented individual. Sarah's passion for education had led her to a career teaching literature and creative writing at the nearby school, where she touched many lives with her kindness and dedication to her students. Sarah Starr had a natural ability to connect with her students, earning a reputation as an uplifting and attentive teacher. Her educational journey culminated with a bachelor's degree in education at the age of 22, leading her into a marriage with Jason, a military veteran 6 years her senior. Early in their relationship, they shared a common vision of a harmonious family life, dreaming of the joys of parenthood together in the small town of Colby. The initial years of their marriage appeared peaceful as they welcomed 2 sets of twins embodying their shared dream. Yet, beneath this facade of domestic bliss, Jason found himself grappling with the challenges of fatherhood. His patience wore thin, often snapping at Sarah over the children's clamor and the never-ending chaos of their household. Over time, his frustrations escalated into overt criticism, belittling Sarah even in the presence of friends and family. In her quest for peace, Sarah turned increasingly towards her faith. She became an active member of the local Baptist church, which soon evolved into a sanctuary and a second home for her. To escape the growing strife within her marriage, she immersed herself in gardening and photography, cultivating new hobbies that brought her a semblance of tranquility. By 2016, Sarah's life appeared to stabilize as she embraced her role as a 4th-grade teacher. Despite the warm and friendly facade she maintained, her personal life was fraying. Jason's resentment towards his paternal duties grew, his demeanor turning increasingly hostile. The marital tension reached a breaking point, prompting Sarah to seek a divorce. She left Jason the house and moved into a church-provided home, hoping to find respite and a new beginning. Relocation to Alabama marked a hopeful but challenging transition for Sarah. She envisioned this move as a fresh start, yet the prolonged divorce proceedings and a deteriorating financial situation clouded her path. Jason accused her of reckless spending, adding to the burden she faced. What was meant to be a new chapter filled with promise slowly devolved into a struggle fraught with unexpected hardships. On the turbulent day she departed from Jason's residence, Sarah enlisted the help of 2 trusted friends, Dana and Lawrence, to assist with her move. The scene was chaotic. Sarah darted about, visibly distressed, misplacing items and making multiple trips back and forth from the house. Both Dana and Lawrence noted her frantic demeanor, perceiving an underlying fear that seemed to consume her. Her primary worry was a potential confrontation with Jason. Given their strained history, her apprehensions were not without merit. Now facing the world as a single mother, Sarah found her new reality daunting. Despite the supportive embrace of her church community, the solitude and financial strains began to take a heavy toll on her spirit. Upon their arrival at the new church-provided residence, her fears materialized when Jason appeared at the doorstep. Lawrence intervened, blocking Jason's entry, preventing the situation from escalating. Jason eventually retreated, but not before leaving Sarah visibly shaken. She was trembling, tears streaming down her face, insisting that Jason had previously threatened her. The divorce was finalized 2 years later, culminating in a court decision that granted shared custody of the children and mandated Jason to provide child and spousal support. This resolution significantly strained Jason's finances, compelling him to surrender over half of his income. While Sarah continued to inhabit the home provided by the church, Jason relocated to a nearby residence where he lived with his mother. The fateful morning of November 27, 2017 began unremarkably, yet with one stark anomaly. Sarah did not arrive at work. Known among her colleagues for her punctuality and reliability, her absence raised immediate alarms. Concerned, one colleague decided to visit her home to ensure her well-being. Upon arrival, the horrifying scene unfolded. Sarah's lifeless body lay in the driveway, riddled with gunshot wounds, in a clear indication of a violent act, her blood staining the quiet morning. Emergency services were summoned immediately upon the discovery of Sarah's body, but tragically, it was too late to save her. The police arrived promptly, and although their initial suspicions leaned toward self-harm, the evidence at the scene soon pointed them in a more sinister direction. It emerged that the fatal shots were fired around 6:30 a.m. as Sarah was leaving her home, executed by an assailant lying in wait with a shotgun. The first devastating shot struck her chest and the second her head, delivering fatal blows. The sound of gunfire did not stir immediate concern among the neighbors. In this rural community where hunting was commonplace, such noises blended seamlessly with the morning ambiance. Thus, the true gravity of these sounds, marking the cruel end of Sarah's life, went unrecognized. At the crime scene, forensic experts scoured for clues but found neither fingerprints nor tire tracks, suggesting a meticulously cautious perpetrator. Given the acrimonious backdrop of Sarah's recent divorce and her tense relationship with her ex-husband Jason, police naturally harbored suspicions towards him. Initial inquiries led them to Sarah's close friends, Dana and Lawrence, who painted a picture of the last few tumultuous months. They reported Sarah's growing fears about Jason, even speculating that he might resort to drastic measures to exact revenge. The proximity of Jason's residence to Sarah's, merely a few minutes' walk, afforded him ample opportunity to commit the act and return home unnoticed. As detectives delved deeper, their suspicions about Jason's involvement only intensified. Yet, when they interrogated him, Jason staunchly maintained his innocence, claiming he was having breakfast at a local cafe with his children at the precise time Sarah was attacked. Supporting Jason's claim, surveillance footage from the cafe and corroborative witness testimonies seemed to solidify his alibi. Despite this, the detectives were hesitant to dismiss him as a suspect. The motives were undeniably present: bitter divorce proceedings, burdensome child support, and financial strains, all of which painted a picture of a man under immense pressure. Sarah's circle of friends and relatives consistently echoed concerns about her fear of Jason, adding layers of complexity to the ongoing investigation. The authorities were deeply suspicious that Jason could be behind such a heinous act, yet they found themselves hamstrung by a lack of direct evidence linking him to the crime. In a bid to invigorate the stalled investigation, several press conferences were convened, with law enforcement appealing to the public for any lead. Adding to the urgency, the state's governor announced a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the culprit, an amount further supplemented by an additional $500 from a concerned local citizen. Despite these efforts and the case's high profile, the trail went cold, and the mystery of Sarah's death lingered unresolved for years. It was not until December 2021 that a breakthrough emerged. New information surfaced, propelling the case forward and rekindling suspicions around Jason, suggesting he might have been involved indirectly by orchestrating a hit. Detectives scrutinized Jason's financial burdens post-divorce, where he was mandated to hand over more than half his income as child support, a stipulation that evidently chafed at him severely. Diving into Jason's digital life for clues, investigators stumbled upon a series of notes on his computer that appeared to be drafts for a book. These writings were filled with bitter reflections on his marriage and divorce, scathing criticisms of the court's decisions, and an evident disdain for the child support obligations. His entries also brimmed with derogatory comments about women, intensifying the detective's suspicions about his character and possible motives. Further investigation into Jason's financial records revealed a pattern of peculiar transactions. Between September 7th and November 15th, 2017, Jason had transferred a total of $20,600 to a woman named Lily, who was connected to Jason through his brother Darren. This financial interaction was particularly suspicious because there had been no prior transactions between Jason and Lily, and by her account, their acquaintance was minimal at best. Upon interviewing Lily, detectives learned that Jason had ostensibly given his brother a 2016 motorcycle for repairs following an accident. Jason asserted that the repairs were costly, amounting to approximately $5,000, and chose to route the funds through Lily in smaller increments. This arrangement struck the detectives as unusual and potentially indicative of a covert operation. Their investigation into these financial maneuvers opened new avenues in the quest to unravel the true circumstances surrounding Sarah's tragic death. Why would Jason, already burdened by financial difficulties, suddenly decide to gift his brother an expensive motorcycle? And why involve Lily, a relative stranger, to handle the transaction? The detectives hypothesized that the payments described as repair costs might have been a cover for funds related to Sarah's murder. Their suspicions led them to intensify surveillance on Darren, a solitary figure with a rugged demeanor who had spent most of his life in a trailer in Texas. Darren's history included minor legal skirmishes, including a speeding incident that uncovered illegal substances in his possession. To probe further, the detectives reviewed the brothers' communications, seizing their phones to examine texts and call log. The investigation revealed that Darren had traveled to Coffee County, Alabama on November 18th, staying near Sarah's residence for 10 days. His phone, active in the vicinity, was abruptly turned off around midnight the night before the crime and remained so until 10 a.m. the following morning, suggesting a deliberate attempt to conceal his location during the crime. That evening, Darren sent Jason a text, ostensibly about a successful deer hunt, which police suspected was a coded message relating to the murder. A neighbor reported seeing a motorcycle near Sarah's house that matched the description of Darren's, a sighting corroborated by other locals prior to the murder. Though it had not aroused suspicion at the time, this lead gained further credence when detectives obtained footage from a surveillance camera on a nearby shed, capturing a motorcycle resembling Darren's leaving shortly after the gunshots. December 2021 marked a pivotal moment in the case. With comprehensive evidence gathered, including the suspicious financial transactions, communication patterns, and surveillance footage, the police arrested Jason and Darren, charging them with conspiracy in connection to Sarah's tragic death. Jason was apprehended first, and although he vocally maintained his innocence, proclaiming it loudly, he swiftly asked for legal representation. His initial bravado diminished rapidly. Following intense interrogations, he surprisingly confessed to involvement in Sarah's death. Despite his confession, Jason was granted bail under the strict condition that he wear an electronic monitoring bracelet. Upon hearing of his brother's arrest, Darren panicked and fled, prompting a significant law enforcement response. The police, along with the FBI, initiated an extensive manhunt, eventually adding him to their most wanted list. An initial bounty of $10,000 was set for information leading to his capture, which was later increased to $22,000. After nearly 2 months on the run, Darren surrendered to authorities in Texas on February 5th, 2022. He staunchly denied any involvement in the crime and opted to stay in jail, declining the option of bail as he awaited his trial. The trial proceedings were protracted, marred by a plethora of circumstantial evidence and a notable absence of direct physical proof. Darren's defense attorney challenged the integrity of the prosecution's case, pointing out the lack of physical evidence at the crime scene, the absence of the murder weapon, and the inconclusive nature of the surveillance footage. He argued that these gaps significantly undermined the strength of the case against his client. On the other side, the prosecution focused on the financial transactions between Jason and Lily, presenting these as payments for criminal services rendered. They posited that the motorcycle given to Darren facilitated his movement to and from Alabama, and they used the surveillance footage from the shed as a pivotal piece of evidence showing a motorcycle similar to Darren's departing the crime scene shortly after the murder. In court, Lily testified that she had been unwittingly pulled into the brothers' scheme, following their instructions without knowledge of their ultimate intention. Her involvement led to charges which were eventually dropped due to her cooperation and the clarity she provided regarding the transactions. Her testimony became crucial in shaping the narrative against Jason and Darren. The trial spanned several days, characterized by fervent presentations from both the defense and prosecution. Each side endeavored to tip the scales, presenting their arguments in hopes of convincing the jury of their narrative. Jason's defense attorney strenuously highlighted the restaurant surveillance footage showing Jason dining with his children at the exact time of the crime, presenting it as incontrovertible proof of his alibi. Furthermore, the defense underscored Jason's cooperation with the investigation, noting his voluntary submission of his phone and computer to law enforcement as evidence of his transparency, and arguing that such actions were inconsistent with someone attempting to conceal their guilt. Despite these arguments, the weight of Jason's own confession, along with the amassed circumstantial evidence, tilted the scales against him. After 6 days of intense testimonies and 6 hours of jury deliberation, both brothers were convicted of conspiracy to commit murder. On January 4th, 2024, they received life sentences without the possibility of parole. This outcome was somewhat tempered, as the crime's severity could have warranted the death penalty, but the jury stopped short of a unanimous decision for such a sentence. Additionally, Jason was fined $25,000. In the aftermath of the trial, Darren's attorney signaled an intent to appeal the verdict, citing potential errors in the handling and interpretation of the evidence. Conversely, Jason's legal team refrained from filing an appeal, likely due to his earlier confession, which significantly weakened his case. The personal toll of the trial was starkly visible through the reactions of Sarah's children. Her elderly parents assumed custody of the grandchildren, while during the trial, the older twins made a poignant declaration in court, expressing their desire to sever all ties with their father, highlighting the deep emotional scars left by the ordeal. The tragic story of the Starr family extends beyond a mere narrative of familial betrayal and jealousy. It serves as a grim reminder of how quickly financial strain and emotional turmoil can escalate into irreversible tragedy. Most tragically, it was the children, the very individuals Jason should have protected, who suffered the most profound loss, their mother. This case prompts a broader reflection on our relationships and the people we trust. It is a stark reminder to never overlook warning signs of distress or manipulation. If you find yourself or someone close to you in a similar troubling relationship, it's crucial to take action, seek help, and prioritize mental and emotional well-being. Ultimately, this saga serves as a somber testament to the potential dangers posed by those closest to us. It challenges us to consider whether financial pressures or personal resentments can ever justify actions that lead to such catastrophic outcomes. We invite you to share your thoughts below on this case. How would you handle a similar situation if you found yourself entangled in such dire circumstances?